Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Pan Future Society podcast. I am your host, Sean, and today is Friday, February 24th, 2017. I am getting to the show a day earlier than usual. Every now and then that happens, just because it fits that way for me, and I have no idea if any of you care or not. Something on my mind today to start with is without needing to go into too many details, there are some people out there who don't just disagree with science and scientists and what they do, they actually threaten them or encourage in subtle and not so subtle ways um, for other people to threaten these scientists. And I mean actually like physically harm them, even call out for them to be killed. This is a tactic that was used in the past by the anti-abortion movement, where a doctor's home address would be published publicly, and then just coincidentally, someone who was close to being pushed over the edge would go to that doctor's house and shoot him. Doxing, that is the practice of publishing someone's information online about their phone number, their address, their home address, their work address, is a thing that has happened to scientists. We live in a world where people don't just disagree with it, they hate scientists so much they would like to take action against them to eliminate them. And that is not okay. That is not the world we should live in. You can disagree, but if your belief system, whatever that belief system is, in whatever context this is, if your beliefs are challenged and your reaction is to lash out with violence, your belief system is messed up. Take a breath and just I don't know. I really don't know how to get people to not escalate into violence so quickly, or to want to do that and to think that that's the first thing that they need to turn to, or to be feel like they're so backed into a corner that that's what they have to do. Uh, it's but it's out there, and it's getting worse, and it's very concerning. So, if I guess if you see something, say something. Like the call for a lot of other potential hazards these days. If you've got friends or family or coworkers who are telling you that doctors are Nazis and they should be killed, or that scientists who work on gene editing are like Dr. Frankenstein and we should take the torches and pitchforks to them, that is not okay. Because the more people who say that, even if they don't really mean it, the it's out there, and that talk is out there so much that it will eventually reach the ears of someone who is close to the edge, and they will tip over that edge and they will do something drastic and injure someone or kill someone. It's happened in context of abortion doctors and religious nuts, and we are on the verge of having it happen to scientists who just want to do good work and help people. All right, that is my soapbox for the day. Now on with your news of the moment. The first item this week, a new metamaterial has proven to be the world's first to achieve the performance predicted by theoretical bounds. So in a nutshell, this metamaterial, that is a synthetic composite material that exhibits properties not found in nature, has been developed and has reached sort of a theoretical maximum performance that I guess you could say the math showed this and the computer calculations did this and they built it and it works. UC Santa Barbara mechanical engineer and materials scientist Jonathan Berger developed this material, and it is called Isomax. It is a foam, and the foam is arranged in a way so that it has maximum strength in every direction. It has a sort of a pyramid and cross shape to its layout, as opposed to what you might see in other things like a honeycomb or a box shape. What this means is that no matter which direction force is applied to a structure built with this stuff, it has its maximum strength in every direction. Unlike, say, a honeycomb structure where one direction you push on it, it's very solid, and from another direction it just collapses easily because it can't handle the force in that direction. So this kind of structure for this foam also lends itself well to the origami-like folding methods for manufacturing that we have today, to making different kinds of bonds, and to 3D printing. So this would be something that you could use to make prosthetics or something like that that would be lightweight and very strong. And with this strength in every direction for something like a prosthetic, you would use a prosthetic arm like a normal arm, and it would be lightweight, and you wouldn't have quite so much worry about breaking it or something like that. So that is your materials science news. And now, it came from outer space. So I heard there was something about some exoplanets out there somewhere. Is of course that will get a mention, but for all the non-stop news coverage that surprisingly the new exoplanet discovery has gotten, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't need to. If you missed it, you aren't even paying attention to your local news broadcast, because it was everywhere. So exoplanets, lots of them, Earth-sized, maybe lots of liquid water. Go check it out. The other space news I wanted to bring you this week, which recently came out and was kind of immediately overshadowed, is that new observations of the universe have given us perhaps a different measurement of the Hubble Constant. The Hubble Constant is the rate at which the universe is expanding, and these new measurements don't line up with some of the old measurements. The possibility here that they're most interested in is that there is a new physics, something about physics that we don't yet understand or know, that does not currently fit into the standard model of cosmology. The Hubble constant, named after Edwin Hubble, not the Hubble telescope, allows astronomers to measure the scale and age of the universe and measure the distance to the most remote objects that we can see. The team, led by Sherry Suyu at the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics in Germany, used some Hubble Space Telescope information, Earth-based telescopes, and some other stuff to make their measurements. Suyu says the Hubble constant is crucial for modern astronomy as it can help to confirm or refute whether our picture of the universe, composed of dark energy, dark matter, and normal matter, is actually correct, or if we are missing something fundamental. Largely in the ways, one of the main ways they look at things very, very distant is through gravitational lensing. Even the lensing of other galaxies, that is, as light passes near another large object, it changes direction, and you can make measurements to tell exactly how far apart is or how far away it is based on knowing that kind of information. As they continue to try to refine these measurements, they will, I'm sure, let us know if it looks like there really is new physics, or if there was some maybe slight error, or maybe we'll get some more information, like there are some assumptions made in certain studies that the universe is flat, whatever flat means in a three-dimensional space. Or maybe we have some new physics to look at. And lest you think that scientists are boring and never have any fun, this project is named the H0 lenses in Cosmo Grail's wellspring, abbreviated as Holy Cow. They just can't help themselves, can they? All right, that is your news of the moment. Are you ready? Hold on to your hats. I'm diving into the most controversial topic I have covered: genetically modified organisms and gene editing, specifically how these are related to the future of food and farming. In the current anti-science climate we are living in, GMOs are one of the most divisive and rage-inducing topics, but they are not the boogeyman they are made out to be. And in a future where climate change makes drastic changes to our weather, or where humans have colonized Mars or moved onto large space stations, gene editing gives us the best option to quickly adapt to new situations. I'm not going to go into all the details of the science behind GMOs or of all the arguments for or against. I'm going to try to focus on their benefits, particularly in how it relates to our long-term survival. And remember, on this show, long-term is 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, and beyond. If you'd like good science information on GMOs, I would recommend the Genetic Literacy Project and their website. They cover a wide swath of information, support properly done science research, and dispel many myths in the process. I will also link to several of sections of their website to highlight a few specific topics in the show notes. Evolution is very slow. It takes tens of thousands, even millions of years for certain traits to develop from environmental pressures. Occasionally, we see some changes in the wild that appear suddenly through mutation, but we'll have to watch over the long term to see if those changes last and spread to wider populations. Gene editing speeds up evolution. So does selective breeding and crossbreeding, the methods we've used until now to develop every single food crop we grow and livestock animal we raise. But if climate change or disaster happens, or if we need something faster for living on Mars, we need gene editing. It's the quickest way to adapt plants and animals to our needs, and it's the most controlled. If we know what the genes in a plant do, we can change just the characteristics we want. Selective and crossbreeding has gotten us pretty far, but it's unpredictable. When we mix genes that way, we're mixing all the genes. We might get the modern banana or milk cow, but we might also get Africanized honeybees, killer bees, or we might breed for ultimately detrimental traits like sterility in mules. Mules are most often a mix of male donkey and female horses. Many purebred show dogs now are suffering from illnesses and disabilities because of the desire for traits mostly based on appearance and disregards for other health effects. One myth I do want to debunk here and now is what foods you can buy at the store that are GMOs are partly made from GMOs. The definition of GMO is a little sketchy because, as I said, selective breeding and crossbreeding is technically genetically modifying organisms. So apples, bananas, pigs, chickens, they're all genetically modified. But in the sort of current definition of GMO, we will take that on this show to mean the direct modification of a single gene or a few genes in an organism that's done in a lab and then reproduced in seeds or what have you. So anyway, GMOs you can buy at the store right now, or products that are partly made with these GMOs: corn, soybeans, cotton, canola, alfalfa, sugar beets, Hawaiian papaya, squash, Arctic apples, innate potatoes, and aqua bounty salmon. That's it. Those are the only commercially available GMOs, at least here in the United States. If you go to the store and you see a non-GMO label on the tomatoes or the green beans or the strawberries, it's just a BS marketing label that is trying to hit your emotional buttons. It should also be noted that there is an extremely high level of regulation and testing done before a GMO is approved for use. There are no mad scientists blasting frankenfoods out into the world. I will also have a link in the show notes to the list of commercially available food crops and the reasons each one has been genetically modified. By and large, it's for pest control or the new thing like the Arctic apple doesn't brown. That's it. And most of these things like cotton and corn, you don't eat them directly. They're made into other things. The Arctic apple, the innate potato, and the aqua bounty salmon are, I think the apple is for sale now, but the other two actually aren't even for sale yet. So there you have it. Anyway, go to the link I'm going to put in here to see what these are and why they've been developed, and we will move on. The main reason GMO crops are grown now is to improve the farmer's ability to combat weeds, diseases, and pests. One example of the ways GMOs benefit crops is in the addition of the insecticide Bt derived from the Bacillus thuringiensis bacterial protein. In GMO crops resistant to pests, the modification produces Bt within the plant. Bt is a naturally occurring adaptation that some plants already have. Bt can be found also in the soil and many other places in the environment, and it has been adapted by scientists into some of our cultivated crops. What may also be surprising to you is that Bt is an organic pesticide. It is sprayed on organic crops, and this is allowed because it is derived from plants that already have Bt in them. Yes, organic crops used pesticides. If those pesticides use materials, chemicals, that are already occurring in nature. However, by incorporating the Bt into the plant directly as a GMO, you reduce fuel use, soil compaction, and reduce the amount and frequency of spraying needed. That is better for the environment and improves the efficiency of farms. For further information on Bt and the many ways in which it has been studied for safety, efficacy, and environmental impact, check the show notes for a link for that. Over time, some pests and diseases can become resistant to treatment with methods like I just mentioned, whether they are GMO or considered organic, which is a kind of a meaningless label anyway, but the pests can evolve. This happened with a particular cotton crop, and very quickly a new version of the cotton was developed. I must make very clear that the resistance that may develop in a pest or disease has nothing to do with GMOs. Insects could just as easily evolve resistance to organic pesticides. However, the speed at which gene editing can potentially move, I think, makes the response to resistance much easier now than new crossbreeding or going back to the drawing board looking for a new organic pesticide. And GMOs might be the only way to do something. Without GMO techniques, the Hawaiian papaya could be extinct. A virus was ravaging the crop, and in 1998, scientists developed a seed resistant to the virus. This seed was given to farmers in Hawaii for free. So, you want to talk about criticisms labeled sometimes at GMOs as, always the shill is thrown out or the money grubbing is thrown out. These scientists developed a way to save the Hawaiian papaya and they gave it away. Other ways gene modification can help is in nutrition. Golden rice could improve the lives of a lot of people if it were not blocked from use. It's a rice that has a tweak in it that makes it a good source of vitamin A, and this could be used in places where blindness and other vitamin A deficiency problems exist. There is also talk of working on the tomatoes that we buy. For various reasons, your typical store bought tomato is pretty bland, but some researchers are looking at ways of fixing that with gene editing. A new soybean variant was recently made in South Korea using the CRISPR gene editing method. They increased the amount of healthy fat in the bean, and this was done just by changing gene expression in the plant, not by adding or taking anything away. So, this isn't even really a GMO by most people's definition. They did not add any genes that were not already in the soybean. Yield, that is how much food you grow per acre of a particular crop or how much out of an animal you get, can be further improved with science, and it can be improved perhaps more quickly with these modern methods. And growing more food on less land with less resources is good for the environment. And this is really the same thing we've always done with food, it's just a different way of doing it. And crossbreeding and selective breeding of plants and animals, we've done it for thousands of years. We're just doing it faster now. There are some great images online of wild food versus modern foods, and I'll link to one of these in the notes. It's really incredible. People have no idea what food used to look like. Wild bananas and the plant that, for example, became our modern corn barely even look like food. One area where more research needs to be done right now is in drought and heat resistance or tolerance. A recent study from the University of Chicago ran simulations on modern U.S. crops using Dust Bowl era weather data, and they found that losses today would be as much as they were in 1936. Despite improvements in yield and disease and pest resistance, we have not tackled drought. With the changes coming from global warming, this could present a disastrous situation, not to mention that there are already many places in the world where people right now are suffering food shortages. They could be helped by crops that can be grown in drier, less than ideal soils. For our future on Earth and in space, we absolutely need to get this figured out. We need food that can be cultivated in more extreme conditions. And the way to get there is gene editing and GMOs rather than many, many years and many generations of trying to crossbreed something that may or may never work. I was actually somewhat nervous to do this show. Even in our modern Facebook rage filled world, GMOs and food are, I think, in the top 5 for topics that induce emotional anger, panic, and general incivility in people. I hope that I've given you a decent outline of what GMOs are and why we need them. It is against our nature, but I do encourage you to try to turn off your emotions for a while and just look more closely at the established, well produced science on this, and really on any topic. And there's your show. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know what you think. Drop me a line at panfuture.org. Sean, that's SEAN, at panfuture.org. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, Pan Future Podcast. Share it with your friends. Write a review on iTunes. That always helps out the show, and I appreciate those of you who have done that for me. And also appreciate anyone who's chipped in a little money. Go to the website, and there's links for that there. There will be a lot of links in the show notes for this week's show. So if you don't usually go to the show page on the website, you really should, because there's going to be a lot of stuff there. A lot from geneticliteracyproject.org is where a lot of this is going to be found. So go visit that page as well. Next week's show is going to continue this theme of food and farming. Next week, you sci-fi fans should tune in too, because I'm going to get into all the real crazy high-tech stuff that is on the verge of being used, and is the kind of stuff we could find on a future generation ship that is heading toward the TRAPPIST system with all those new planets. All right, so tune in next week for that, and I will talk to you again in the future.